Black Lives Matter.
Hello, and thank you for tuning back in to the Hearts, Conspiracies and UFOs podcast. It's Jarva here, and boy oh boy, do we have a jam-packed show for you today. We have a whole host of transfer news to steer through up on the UFO, everyone's favourite out of context, Jamble's kickback, and we will also be going through who we consider to be the biggest cult heroes to have ever played for the Hearts. And to help me get through it all, I am joined by who is often the voice of reason, Simon.
Hello.
Now, recent reports have said that he has the sexiest voice in all of Scottish football podcasting. It's Hammy.
Hello.
Nice. I'm still more of a Stephen Presley man myself.
Well,
And sadly, this week, Jolly Jambo is unavailable since the flights to Spain have reopened. He got himself booked up for Benidorm right away. However, we are delighted to be joined by Jolly Jambo's nephew today. It's Junior Jolly Jambo. Hello, Junior.
All right, how's it going, Jarvie?
Not too bad. Now, do you want to be known as Junior, or is it Triple J, like a wrestler?
I'll be Triple J like a wrestler. There you go.
Triple J. Well, I think like Triple H before you. I think you look like more like Dribble J. Looking at the Nicky. No, but thanks for coming on, and all the best to you.
I'm sure Uncle Jolly would love to be here, but you know, bit of ruckus at the Miners Club this morning with the beer garden opening, and well, you know, these things happen.
So he's fled the country and got to Benidorm. That makes sense.
Exactly. Right?
Before we get onto the show, boys, since we recorded last week, we recorded after day one of court proceedings, let's just have a kind of brief chat and wrap up of it all, and we'll hand back over to our lawyer friend, QC Hammy.
aye, so quite an interesting turn of events. I don't think anyone actually got what they wanted or what they went in for at the start of it. Cove, Wraith and Dundee United got their motion completely dismissed, and now they've been left with quite a large bill. Reports today that they've all got the begging hats out looking for some money for that, which is going to probably hurt them quite a bit. Hearts sadly didn't get to keep it in court, and the SPFL didn't get to keep their dodgy documents hidden. So, you know, I'd like to call it a draw. I think we've done okay out of it, and hopefully the Arborough smoky that comes out of this can shed some more light and we can get what we want.
Yeah, it has been interesting today to see, like you said, Dundee United, well, all three of them, Raith Rovers and Cove, starting a GoFundMe or crowdfunding to pay for their legal bills.
Like, I've never seen Hibs fans quicker to back a club financially in my life.
More than their own, unbelievable.
150 grand, I think they're expecting.
Yeah,
because they're as well. So, well, that's what they were saying in their statements. Roughly, I think that's what the total cost at the moment. It'll be up to anyway, which is unbelievable. Mr. James Anderson gave about, wasn't it not, or something out there to keep club afloat at the moment. But what they said was, and for like, I was going to say Cove Rangers there, but I'm pretty sure they've got a bit of a benefactor themselves who steamrolled loads of money in there. The likes of Wraith and
COVID Rangers. Wow,
that's how they get rebranded.
Get sponsored by Bill Gates.
It'll be to see how it goes. As Lord Clark did say, if there was any shenanigans with the arbitration procedure. It can go back to court, but I don't think he had any other way. I think they put up a good fight about how it should go to arbitration first and foremost before it then goes to court. But it was good reading his notes that he didn't put any of the blame on Hearts for taking it to court. He thinks that there is a case to be heard. And like I said, the recovery of documents that he found in favour of Hearts I think, will be a big one. I think the arbitration's now up and running. It started. Then he said they need to find their representatives. One that gets nominated by Hearts, one gets nominated by SPFL, I believe, and then they'll pick a chairman. And again, which is good for Hearts, that chairman has to be not football associated. So it's going to be a solicitor or a judge with at least 10 years' experience. So it won't
and also,
be
did
Neil Doncaster or something.
Did the honourable judge who presided over our little court session, did he not say if he doesn't think it's all above board, he'll quite happily take it back to court?
Yeah. And he will. He's even said he'll assist with getting it and all that set up.
He cost a lot of money though, eh?
All right. He's definitely going above and beyond. Lord Clark, I think he's definitely worth a 5-star review. 10 out of 10 would use again.
TripAdvisor for judges.
Yeah. And Hammy, I'm sure all the listeners will be aware, but just to touch upon, the fact that the Dundee vote, it was acknowledged by the QCs on the SPFL's defence that it was received, however, in quarantine before the 5 o'clock deadline, and all the paperwork around this will be presented at the next stage of court now as well, which is interesting.
What they were even saying, I believe the Hearts mentioned that they want evidence submitted from in person, like an interview from Neil Doncaster as well.
Yeah.
So essentially, he's now going to have to be on the record for it. What could possibly go wrong?
I think we should just skip to the bit where we pick our champions and they fight each other.
Who are we picking?
Presley.
Do you think?
Oh,
Presley.
Uche.
To fight who? Neil Doncaster?
To fight the SPFL champion.
So Scott Brown. That'd be a good. I bet Scott Brown's a really good fighter, but Uche would destroy him.
Uche would destroy anyone.
Good stuff. The Begging Bowl is certainly out. The thing is, with other than Dundee, Raith Rovers and Cove, like Hearts, are having to wait until the 17th of October before they've got any source of income coming in. And that's providing we can get fans into grounds when the season starts then as well. However, looking at the fixture list today, with Celtic and Rangers being drawn together for their first Old Firm game, whatever you want to call it, for the 17th of October, you can certainly believe that everyone will be doing everything they can within their powers to make sure fans are at that game. So
there was no chance that game was going to be called like mid-August or even the start of October. They were going to push that as far back on the randomly generated calendar as possible. Something tells me it'll almost be like a conspiracy, how things will suddenly come together and fans will be in stadiums by the 17th of October. Watch this space. Although the Scottish Government came out recently and said that the SFA have been moving a bit too prematurely with their fans back in by the 23rd of July, I'm pretty sure they were saying. They could have small sections open, and the Scottish Government's just come in and said, nah, not the 23rd of July. When do Rangers play their European tie as well? Is that before our season starts, or is that mid-August?
I have no idea, actually. I'm not sure if that date has been confirmed as yet.
Because I know the Champions League is going to be like a miniature tournament in Germany, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure the Europa League runs alongside it.
Does it?
Mm-hmm. Am I right in saying there's something happening in Lisbon, isn't there? I think there might be a similar thing, Simon. Maybe it's the Euros that are the Europa, that's going to be in Lisbon. If the Champions League's in Germany.
Yeah, that could make sense.
But they've got no chance anyway. They've got to destroy the Ibrox. Okay. Well, yeah, that kind of wraps up court. It's probably going to be old news before it's new news. Then, yeah, we'll just check back in next week and see where we're at. So leaving it at that, boys, let's leave the courthouse again and we'll jump inside that big silver and maroon saucer parked out in the car park. Yes, it's time to look at some unsolicited foreign offers. Well, here we are again, floating around the EH11 area. Triple J, I know it's your first time up here. If you look under your seat, you'll find a Hibs top to be sick in if needed. Let's get to some unsolicited foreign offers and some other general transfer news. The biggest name of this week has to be Sam Nicholson, who's had his contract terminated by mutual consent with Colorado Rapids for personal reasons. Some say it's because Robbie Nielsen's had him on speed dial non-stop for the last fortnight. Others say it's something else. The feedback from kind of Twitter and Instagram has been a real mixed bag. It's pretty much been down the line from what I've seen with fans wanting him back, or some are very strongly against the return of Nicholson. So we'd be interested to get your take on it, boys. Simon, we'll start with you. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Robbie Nielsen's come out today and he said that Sam Nicholson's a player they're interested in. I've heard a lot of stuff about Sam Nicholson wanting to move to England and preferring a League One team over coming back to Hearts in the Championship. Yeah. I mean, I understand the potential to then go into the Championship and compete at that level, but the bubble's bursting in England. The bubble's bursting in Scotland, and we run it on a lot smaller budgets for a lot of teams. But I think the chance of him going to League One, he's good enough, but with the stigma of Scottish players and the small chance of him actually making it into the Championship, I'd obviously biasedly want him to come back to Hearts.
Yeah, he did blow hot and cold before, and I think that's a lot of people's concerns. Just to say, it's Bristol Rovers that have been linked with Nicholson. Apparently, they've asked him, if he'd be interested in looking at a contract. Hammy, what's your opinion? You watched Nicholson quite closely that Championship season when he was kind of running the show. Would you like to see him back again?
I think he'd be a fine addition to the team, left wing. I don't think we've really got anyone else that can sort of play out there. He's a good player. He's done, 3 years over in the States now. He's still only 25. I think he would fit in that team well. He obviously he knows Robbie Nielsen. And again, we need to remember that it's going to be the Championship season. It's not exactly going to be top drawer. So I think he would fit in well. I would take him back. Off the top of my head, I can't think of many better players that are available right now. So I don't imagine
Edison Cavani
a whole lot of money. Can he play?
Messi's unhappy at Barca.
Cavani
when
and Messi
playing,
on the links in the Championship.
We're at a cold, horrible Wednesday night in Arbroath or something. Can Messi and Cavani really do what Sam Nicholson does, though? That's it.
You'd hope that Sam Nicholson, being a 25-year-old now, would have put on a natural bit more body weight, just because obviously he's grown. And the way he played, he was like every other skillful Scottish player. You just get taken out a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
Like, remember, he just got booted in the face.
Oh, yeah, he was injured all the time.
Aye.
I think that against Hamilton or something, wasn't it? And he just took a boot clean to the face. I think the guy got yellow.
Wasn't it?
That was a big boss man boot to the face.
Speaking of wrestlers, Triple J, are you a Nicholson fan?
I think I'd take him back. I think when being 25 and potentially having offers down south, I don't think he'll be back. Agreed.
Yeah. I've got to say for myself, I'm really 50-50. I think there'll be options out there just as good as Nicholson. And just thinking how injury prone he was, I've read a tiny bit about his time in America. It seems like it's been much the same, really. If we got wee skinny Milinkovic back, that would be the best shout for me, but there's no chance he'd be back at Hearts in the Premier League, never mind the Championship.
Where is he now? Is he at Hull still?
He's on loan in Canada. from Hull.
Oh, okay.
Montreal, he's at.
I wouldn't push the boat out for Sam Nicholson. You know what I mean?
No.
So if you say, here's an offer, if you want to come back, this is what you're getting. And if he refuses it, then, look elsewhere.
Exactly. He shouldn't be up there with being one of the highest paid players. No way.
No.
You wouldn't think so. But we'll see. Maybe Nielsen. He did have a superb season with Nielsen in the Championship last time. I wouldn't be overly surprised if Nielsen pushes the boat out and brings him back, but surely there's going to be better options come up over the next wee while. We'll see. Speaking of other wingers, it was breaking news last week where Hammy was checking Twitter when he was meant to be concentrating on the podcast and revealed that Jake Hastie had been linked with Hearts. Unfortunately, has re-signed to go back to Motherwell on loan. Pretty gutted myself. Hammy, how are you feeling about that one?
Aye, he would have been a good signing. I think he would have been a good signing even to take back into the Premiership. So again, if it's Jake Hastie or Sam Nicholson, I know which one I'd rather want, but
yeah,
sadly, it's not meant to be.
Me too.
Do you think us taking the SPFL to the cleaners potentially for 10 mil might affect clubs doing business with us?
I think we'll be the only team they can sell to.
That's a good point. Aye, maybe a fire sale across the SPFL. We'll have nobody else to sell to. But no, I think you're right, Simon. That could be we go down the line, we 200 grand for this player, and they just turn around and say no.
No. Yeah. Oh well.
Aye. Junior, what's your thoughts on Dundee United? Obviously, they've got a very wealthy owner who seems to have very shallow pockets. Do you think this is the time where they let Shanklin go? You might see him going for just a million or two instead of reaching his full potential. If they need the cash, what do you think is going to happen with Dundee United?
I think it's an interesting one. I think, given their position, you're exactly right. If they've got an asset like him sitting there and they get the right offer, would they take it? I'd imagine they do. But then again, if teams down south or elsewhere see them in that position, maybe they don't get the money they want.
There is
really
not a chance.
Position.
No, there is not a chance they get anywhere near £1 million for Lawrence Shanklin.
Oh, he has to go for at least $1 million for me.
Well, what did he do that Jason Cummins didn't?
Like Shanklin's goal records, you can't
Playing for
compare
Dundee
anyone to
United.
it.
But at the same level, I'm pretty sure their goal record is pretty similar.
So you're talking Cummings for the Hibs season when they went up?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, by then Hearts and Rangers had both went up. Little competition. Similar. I don't have the stats in front of me. It'd be interesting to see how many Cummings got. I'm sure it's not actually that close to Shanklin. I'm sure he's...
Let me have a look.
Have a look, Simon.
JC 35.
Shanklin's in the 40s, isn't he?
Dundee, Wikipedia says Shanklin, 26 games, 24 goals.
So in 3 years, in the first year he got 18 goals, second year he got 18 goals, third year he got 19 goals, all in the Scottish Championship.
Mm-hmm.
So not too bad.
It's good going. Hammy, how
much did they get for him? According to Hibs fans, they got $750,000.
Yeah, that was a good few years ago, but I think with inflation, and he is a Scottish international, which Cummings wasn't at the time. All these things do boost transfer values.
And Cummings is a bit of a riot as well.
Aye, and Cummings
a
is
bit of baggage there.
The cum dog's a bit of a loose cannon. That probably took a zero off his value. Have you got Shanklin's goals there, Hammy?
26 appearances, 24 goals in the league.
So that's for
2-2 in the Scottish Cup and 4-2 in the League Cup.
Yeah.
So 33 33 appearances, 28 goals.
No.
For Dundee United.
I think £1 million for 28 goals a season, that's decent business.
If an English League One team takes him, surely that's a good bit of business. That I would personally be really disappointed if we don't get to see Shanklin playing in the Scottish Premiership. Everything aside, that fact, I don't want Dundee United to be in the Premiership, but I'd personally like to see how Shanklin does up there. If he still manages to score 20 plus goals, if he could compete there, you can just see him going down to League One or a kind of mince championship team down there, and he just kind of fizzles out. I think that'd be really good.
There seems to be too many players, too many clubs in the English lower leagues. It's easy to get lost.
Exactly. Speaking of assets, let's speak of a young one at left back. Speaking about Hearts again as well, which is nice considering it's a Hearts podcast. Let's speak about Aaron Hickey. It seems that news is kind of firmed up this week that he could be joining Man City on a permanent deal, however loaned back for kind of circa 18 months. So it would be the end of the 2020 to 2021 season. No, that's now end of 2022. Sorry, he'd be going to Man City properly in the summer of 2022. It would include a sell-on clause of around 30% apparently to Hearts. It's all a load of rumours. And there's also some link that a winger would come on loan from Man City, a left winger. Do you think it's Man City's the right move for Hickey? First of all, I guess he is going to move at some stage. Do you think that's the right move for him, Simon?
This reeks of a player going to a club too big for him too early. You can easily get him. Seeing him, I think he's a great player. Is he Man City level? Don't know. Will he ever play for the Man City first team? I doubt it. Will he go there and then be sold after making a couple of loan appearances? Probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so by the time he'd finished his loan deal at Hearts, he'd be 20. See what he's... You can't expect a player to walk into the Man City's first team from Hearts.
No. I don't think at any point in his career will he get into the Man City first team.
No. Hammy, what do you reckon? What's the future for Hickey?
I agree with Simon. I think, teams like Man City, they've just got that much money and power and contacts and things that 2 years, 18 months, 2 years down the line, it'll just not be flavour of the month at all for Man City, and they'll just go out and buy somebody else. There'll be somebody just better out there. From a Hearts perspective, though, if we can sell him for a decent wedge with that sell-on fee and get him back for 18 months, I think we'd be silly to not take it, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it is an attractive offer, if true. Junior, what do you think is the best options for Hickey? Do you think Man City's a good move for him?
No, I think I'd just echo what the boys have said. I think if Hearts do get offered that, there's no way Hearts can turn that down. You're getting the player back, and the likeliness is that you would lose him a year, 18 months down the line anyway. Mm-hmm. So, take the benefit and go with it.
Yeah. Whatever happens, Hickey only has 1 year left on his current contract, so it is important that something is done now. If we can capitalise on that now, get some income and get him back with sell-on clauses and what have you, I think we'd be mad not to. We'll see. Moving on from the left back to the right back then, some very sad news, I feel. The fact that Michael Smith has been linked with several English Championship teams, which could be kind of Smith's last big move, you'd probably think, as he's in his early 30s now. Simon, how devastated would you be if Michael Smith was to leave Hearts this window?
I'd be less devastated than you think, just because I'd be so happy for him if he got a big move.
Yeah,
I genuinely just think, right, if he's earned it. The last thing his reward should be is playing out his career in the Championship for Hearts. I think if he can get some money, if we can get some money for him and get him moved to the Championship where he can really test himself, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to obviously go somewhere where he feels he'll challenge himself, and like you said, it's the last chance for him to make a good amount of money, so good luck to him.
Yeah, that's worth remembering.
Perfect chance for one of the young boys to come in the Championship. We've got good young players in all positions, so I don't mind it.
We do. There's a few options there at right back. Hammy, kind of keeping in mind Michael Smith, obviously he's a starting international player as well. Northern Ireland, who, for everything they do, you wouldn't be surprised if they get to another big tournament and get going. Do you think Michael Smith could do it playing in the Scottish Championship, or do you think he's kind of his hands forced? He has to go.
I think he'll not want. I mean, we spoke about it last week as well on the podcast. I think about players playing in the Championship with Craig Gordon. He'll not want to be playing in the Championship if he's got potentially Euros coming up. And like Simon says, he's too good a player for the Scottish Championship. He's absolutely brilliant at Hearts. He covers absolutely everything. He's very rarely injured, if I mind. It takes me back. I can't really remember having too many bad injuries. He's maybe missed a few games. And he deserves a good move. What is he? He's 31 now.
Yeah.
Will turn 32 at the end of the year. So he's probably got a good 2-3 years, maybe a wee bit more left, because he seems like he's as fit as a fiddle. So play it down, go get a move to the Championship, earn stupid money, and then get to the Euros in Northern Ireland possibly. You can't say no to that. He's done his time at Hearts. 81 appearances I'm seeing, which is
81, is it?
A lot.
Yeah, but like you said, he's never injured. He's always there, bombing about, covering everywhere. To think the positions he's played, he's obviously an out-and-out right back. He's filled in at centre mid, and he's even played at centre back, and he's even filled in at centre mid for Stendhal a couple of times as well.
Yeah. Yeah, just because he's that versatile a player and he's that fit. As you said before as well, he's covering the whole defence at times, especially with ball playing with players like Suter and things. So I think we'll miss him. But again, Jamie Brandon just signed a new contract, so there's obviously keeping him in frame for that right back position.
Yeah, Brandon's okay.
He'll probably be great in the Championship.
Yeah, it might be the perfect level for him to get going, to be fair. Good luck to Brandon. Junior, do you think there's any chance of us keeping hold of Michael Smith? And if not, what kind of transfer kind of value could we be looking at if Smith was to move, do you think?
No, I think he goes. But putting a value on anyone at Hearts at the moment with the flux that we're in is nigh on impossible, I think.
What's your language, please?
We're not in the greatest position for bargaining with anyone. So it would be interesting to see what we get. Yeah,
it would be. And just a quick question for you boys, and just jump in. Say there's a team in the Scottish Championship next season and it's got 11 Michael Smiths playing. Where does it finish?
We'd get chucked out for match fixing. Would be that good.
Seriously, we'd obviously walk away with a championship with 11 Michael Smiths. How do you feel 11 Michael Smiths would do in the Premier League, Scottish Premier League?
Would they be better than 11 Thomas Flogels? Who actually...
Be a good game.
Aye.
Sexy football, that.
Is Thomas Flogel the 90s Michael Smith?
Possibly. It's a good shout.
Aye.
Maybe we'll link on to that in a little bit. Who knows? Just a couple of other things in terms of transfers. There's what I'd like to call a weak rumour that John Suter has been linked with a possible move to Aston Villa at this stage, despite his lack of appearances, really, you could say, for the last 12 to 18 months. Simon, would you bite their hand off if they were to come in for a transfer?
Yep, anything. I love John Suter. I think he's great, but he doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge John Suter fan, and these two injuries, although they're replicas of one another, leg to leg, they are completely unrelated. It just seems to be some bad genetic makeup with their. Well, saying that, his brother, Harry Suter's a big boy as well.
He might get the health, the training and the right sort of cardio and fitness, strength training that he needs. That actually means he can stay fit. That for some reason, clearly, no one is getting at Hearts.
Are you saying Craig Levine ran players into the ground?
I'm saying Craig Levine ran players over with his car.
That's what it looked like at times.
To be fair, if you've ever been to the Orium, the car park's an absolute nightmare. Junior, speaking of conspiracies, some say there's a curse over the Orium, and that's the reason for the high amount of injuries to Hearts players. Got any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a big tent, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure I believe in spells. I know it used to have a bit of a spell over me, and that if I ever got a night bus home, I'd often wake up at Rickerton. But
Did
probably more to do with the drink than any witches.
Did we check that the Orium 100% wasn't built on ancient burial grounds?
I think it's unconfirmed at this stage. It goes far to say that. Aye, but there's some strange goings on. Looking at the wider squad, it's been said kind of today loosely that Robbie Nielsen's earmarked around 6 players to be moved on. Can you give me a couple of names of kind of senior players you'd like to see go?
Like Demure.
Uh-huh.
See, the thing is, I could name 6 players, we'd all agree, and Hammy could name a completely different 6 players, and we'd all agree.
So we could lose 12.
You're not wrong.
Raise that to 18 for me.
Ollie Bazanek. I'm just looking at the sort of squad at the moment, and I can't even remember. Aidy White, Craig. There's I like Ben Garuccio. There's so many players in there that you wouldn't even like next year. You wouldn't remember they played this year.
I am excited to see Craig Halkett looking like Maldini in the Championship next year.
Gracefully taken out from the back, spraying balls around, scoring 15 goals this season.
He will. That should have been the bet between Hammy and Paddy. Craig Halkett 15 over or under.
He does like those set pieces, doesn't he?
Was he not like our joint top goal scorer this season?
He's up there, aye.
Yeah. He was. Speaking of Ben Garuccio, Hammy, since you mentioned him, I'm actually quite looking forward to his return. I think he was quite underrated. He's just another one like John Suter. He's not had a proper long run in the first team, and he's got a cracking set piece on him as well. He's scored some absolute screamer free kicks, so it's another good option to have. See if he can break back through. Any other transfer news that you boys have heard of this week? Anything else to mention?
Kyle Lafferty,
as always,
said he would come back on the was it off the ball? Cy Ferry
said he'd love to come back.
Yeah,
really?
Aye.
So would I. Anytime.
I'd certainly take Kyle Lafferty. I can't believe he would come back to Hearts in the Championship, but if he's wanting it, he's a good striker.
Another couple of years older, it might be the right level for him.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay. And just finally, speaking of transfers and players, Nielsen confirmed this morning that Christoph Berra will be back in his squad and potentially in his selection plans. Hammy, would you be happy to see him in there? Say Suter moves on, Berra and Halkett for the Championship?
I'm very 50-50 on this. Berra, to be fair, Berra done well at Dundee in the Championship by all accounts. I think that's probably now his level, but at the same time, this is an issue I've always had with the Scotland teams as well. I just think that, if we're planning to go straight back into the Premiership, which we are, why don't we try and blood somebody else in there? Berra's not going to be around forever. I think he's only got a year left, so fair enough. Keep him in the squad, keep him in the team. He's club captain. I think it'll probably go back to him. But surely we've got another centre back or something we can put in there. Like Berra, like I say, keep him in the squad, keep him on the bench, keep him in the team. But if he's not going to be there, why persist with starting him?
Yeah, I think this signifies that he is retiring. I think him coming back and being part of the squad, he's probably said, "Listen, this will be my last year. If he can win a title in brackets with Hearts, obviously his club, the club that he's captained many times, I would suggest that would be a great way to retire."
It's not a bad shout. For me, I'd love to see Cleveland Dickamona come back. Bring him back is what I say. think he's looking for he's back in France and he's looking to get a move to just like a local team from what I've read. It's just a shame.
Right.
But bring him
Yeah, I
back.
liked him.
That would have been a right laugh. Junior Jolly, what's your thoughts on Berra? Would you be happy to see him back, albeit in the Championship?
Yes, I think he'll do a job for us in the Championship. As you said, that might well be where he is in his career now. Yeah, you just kind of hope it's not the later Rocky films, you know, as it rolls on a bit.
Well, thanks for that, boys. That wraps up this journey. So let's go and land this boy in Harry Park because it's time to go over to Hammy for Out of Context Jamble's Kickback.
Jamble's
Kickback. Out of context, Jamble's Kickback.
So I was once again drifting over to Jambo's Kickback to find some funny tales, and I have to admit, possibly they have been listening because it's not been quite as rife of roasters as it usually is, but I did see a lovely thread called "Have I Got This Right, Lads and Lassies?" And I wondered, what is this about? Cardiff boy says, just checking if I understand the various Hearts names for their rivals. And here we go. Hibs are vermin, hobos, spoonburners, tramps, mini Celtic. Rangers are Hun, Sevco. Celtic are septic. Aberdeen are the sheep. St Mirren are midden. Any others? Hearts, glorious Hearts. Thanks in advance. Terry. Wow. Apparently, Celtic are also known as filth or scum, though to be fair, events since March 2020, these could be levied on 90% of Scottish clubs. Oof, sticking the knife into everyone there. St Mirren, also called St Lydoun. I believe that's in reference to 1986.
I'm sorry.
Which we'll not talk about.
Why, like, who's an avid football fan enough that they're going on a team's forum, Jamble's Kickbacks, but they don't know the nicknames for teams?
There you go.
It's just an excuse to go, oh, it's not me who calls them this, but by the way, did you know that? Just be sectarian.
I read it on Kickbacks, it's all right. Maggie B says, though, that the top three in your list, which were, I'll go back to that, Hibs, Celtic and Rangers, Maggie B says that the top three in your list are also known as Sister Fisters. Now, I don't believe I've ever...
Sister Fisters.
Sister Fisters. I don't believe I've ever referred to either of those three teams as Sister Fisters, and I don't think I ever will.
I've never heard that.
Apparently...
I'm sure it's in a song that Junior Jolly sings sometimes.
I don't want to Google it either.
I think it might be Uncle.
Yeah, don't Google
Uncle Jolly that sings.
Is it your uncle? Is it? Sorry, right, okay.
Thankfully, another poster says, just call them by their names instead of being a child. I quite agree with that, superstar. Well done. Any names you'd like to call other teams?
I think we need to move swiftly on. That was so intense, Hammy. I'm having heart palpitations. I don't know if it was what you just said or the dominoes I had earlier.
Sister Fisters.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Hammy. That was nice and relaxing. I think now we'll move over to our next section and let's have a look at cult heroes. Generally speaking about who we consider as the biggest cult heroes probably in our lifetime. And I think it's worth just saying before we get on to it, we know there's cult heroes from the 60s, the 70s, and maybe even years gone by. But just remember that it's very hard to say a cult hero when you haven't seen them play live. Please take that into account when you hear our choices. Thank you.
I'll go first.
Hammy, why don't you go?
I'll go first. So I still hold this man as, I would quite happily say, my favourite of a Hearts player. And I know everyone will be like, what about Robertson? What about Scatchell? And don't get me wrong.
They're not cult heroes. They're just club legends for me. You need to go a bit bespoke.
Exactly, Jarvie. So, taking those legends out of the equation, my favourite is Pasquale Bruno.
Nice.
He won the UEFA Cup with Juventus. He played at Torino, Fiorentina, before coming to Hearts in 1995. Now, he only played for 2 years, but I just love a holding defensive midfielder. I think any good team needs a player like that, and Pasquale Bruno was hard as nails. He done the dirty job that nobody see. You don't remember Pasquale Bruno in games because he's no scoring goals. He's no making inch perfect passes and all that. He's a break from all teams and breaking each other players as well. In the 90s when he was playing and when you could really hard tackle players.
Yes.
I think if you
he was right at the start.
If you ever come and play five-a-side football with us, but I don't know why you would, you'll see that we are all quite inspired by Pasquale Bruno.
We don't play silky football. We just get in and about each other.
Yeah,
and
we don't play football.
So he joined in 1995. We barely play football. So he joined in 1995 to 1997, and that was right at the very start when I was watching Hearts. So I always remember him. And that that strip, it's like the maroon stripes, different shades of maroon stripes. That strip always reminds me of Pasquale Bruno. I thought he was brilliant. And like all good players, he finished here at Cowdenbeath. So after the heavy heights of Italy, he ended up at Cowdenbeath. So not as glamorous a finish to his career as many other players at the UEFA Cup, but I loved him. And even that sort of defensive midfielder, you didn't get that much. Now we had Brelia who done that sort of job that made
superb player.
Hartley and Scatchell so prolific. And I think even last season with Stendhal's type of football, we were crying out for somebody just to sit in the middle. And like you said earlier, we put Mikey Stewart there. Mikey Smith there to break up plays coming forward. He's my favourite ever player. Cult legend.
Yes, superb. Thank you, Hammy. Junior Jolly Jambo, will we go over to you?
This is easy for me. This is a player I would love us to have next season. The kind of guy who looked like he couldn't play 90 minutes but could run a whole game through his feet. I mean, of course, the T-side Iniesta Philip Stamp. Hero of Easter Road in 2002.
Oh yes.
He seemed to be up to all sorts of antics in his house at that time as well. He's easily my favourite player. Definitely my favourite cult player that Hearts have ever had. The kind of guy who you kind of felt like you could be a football player because he was a football player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, he was. You can't imagine. Remember the Hibs keeper a couple of years ago, Conrad Logan, was it? I think he was quite a similar build to Phil Stamp.
He's the T-side Gaza.
That's a great shout, Junior. Superb. Simon, who's your pick then? Who's your cult hero?
So I'm going to go for a player that I always admired, just because, just the sheer, like Phil Stamp, but for the opposite reasons. You thought you could be a football player because he wasn't the best technically. He wasn't the most athletically gifted, but whenever you seen him, you just seen him trying so hard. And like I referred to earlier, he was the turn of the millennium, 90s, noughties. Hearts, Michael Smith. His name is Thomas Flogel.
Nicely done. He's a superb player.
Thomas Flogel won 3 Austrian League championships, and I think he won like 2 Austrian domestic trophies. And you just forget, like when he signed for Hearts, I was very young, but he started playing for them the first season that I started going. And I just remember watching him running and thinking, that's what you want. And when I started playing football and I realised that it was actually really hard, you had more of appreciation for him. And we all talk about Kevin McKenna as playing any position for Hearts. Thomas Fogel actually played every position apart from goals for Hearts. He was also a great player in that 98 season where we actually finally won the cup. He was an important player in that team. And like Pasquale. He done a lot of the hard work that allowed other players like Colin Cameron and John Robertson to go ahead and actually score the goals.
Mm-hmm.
Andy's a dreamboat.
And he had a sweet goatee. He had like a sweet goatee. The most 2000 beard ever.
You should bring it back, Simon. You should grow yourself a Thomas Vogel.
I actually done one. I actually grew myself a goatee not that long ago when you could go to the barbers, and I was just bored and I accidentally shaved a bit too much of my beard, so I thought, fuck it, I'll grow a goatee. I went to my barbers and my barbers just laughed at me and without even asking me, just shaved it off.
I guess there's a fine line between Ricky Gervais in The Office and Thomas Vogel when it comes to
I feel like it's bone structure.
Okay. Well, I'll give you my cult hero. He might not be as big a name as your lot, but he still means a lot to me. My cult hero is Sir David Obua. And I've been reading into Obua for hours today, and there's just so many things that have came together here that I just need to tell you about. So right now, David Obua is he's what's just named as coach. It sounds like an assistant manager role for, no lies, Maroon United in Uganda. No affiliation with Hearts. Maroon United in Ugandan Premier League. Like Hearts are known as the Jam Tarts, Maroon United are otherwise known as Prisoners FC.
What? Any relation to a prison?
No, they're not. But they are otherwise known as Prisons FC. And interestingly, this is not a joke. Interestingly, you'll never guess the name of the first football club which David Obua played for. He started his career at Police FC.
I feel like you're trying to explain the plot to Longest Yard in some kind of odd way.
Every time I opened up another tab about David Obua, I was just like, oh, come on.
Our personal friend, David Obua.
Oh, yes. One day on the podcast, that would make my life. If you're listening, David, get in touch. So yeah, going to the start of Obua's career. So he started off for Police FC in Uganda, and moving on into his kind of later teens, he went over to America to play in some colleges there, most notably for the fantastically named Willingham Hammerheads.
Some amazing names, eh?
Oh yes. Around that time when David was in America playing college soccer, he was called into the Ugandan international squad, and quickly, not long after making his debut, he was signed by the biggest team in South Africa, Kaizer Chiefs, on a 3-year deal. He went on to have incredible success for Kaizer Chiefs, actually getting named as South African Player of the Year in his early 20s. So what David did was ran down his 3-year contract, and he got himself over to the UK as he had interest from a host of clubs, and he came over to try and source himself a work permit. He had trials with West Ham, and at that time they didn't seem to manage to broker a deal together. And if you can cast your minds back to the time, there was a great deal of interest and hype that Hearts were signing this incredible young player. Also at that time, we had Mad Vlad throwing around cash that he didn't actually have. So of course, we put 2 and 2 together, and Mr. Obua came up to Scotland, and a star was born. Obua signed for Hearts in 2008 and stayed until 2012, making 91 competitive appearances, only scoring 6 goals, but a couple of very memorable ones, especially the winner at Easter Road, where he proceeded to shoot the high bees with his rather long gloved fingers. David also popped up with a goal at Ibrox on the same day that Amy Winehouse was pronounced as dead.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
Wait, so in 4 years he only scored 6 goals, and one of them was that day, and you've decided to bring it up?
Yes.
Did he only score 6 goals?
6 goals. Well, he was a left winger. And then Jim Jeffries put him at centre forward, very much as a target man. There was the era he was playing out on the left wing when Christian Nadi was playing centre forward. And I just remember...
goal scoring duo.
What heady days. We never knew how good we had it.
Well, this was an era. Think what height? I was going to ask you this. What height do you think David Obua was?
I remember being maybe I don't remember if he was the same height, maybe a wee bit taller than me.
What height?
And that was when I was like
It's a
19.
podcast.
I am 6'4".
6'4". Hammy, what height Cenk Abua is?
I think he's 6'4", actually.
Aye, Junior?
I think it's all Matthew's probably 5'6". That what you got?
According to his Wikipedia, he was 6'2". I honestly thought he was like 6'8".
Hey.
I had in my head, yeah. But one thing for Abua, I've never seen a guy leap for the ball like him. You know, he's got some leap on him, and we were playing some ugly football at that time, and a lot of the time it was long diagonals to Abua up the left wing, and we'd kind of build play from there. But the reason I love David Abua is he was always walking around with a big smile on his face. He was full of charisma, skill. He was as strong as he was fast. He may have only scored 6 goals, but he did chip in and create quite a lot. I don't have his assist stats, but I'm sure it's up there. Most importantly,
4.
Most importantly, probably. Most importantly, he was always around town. If you were at Fountain Park during the day, you'd see him there in his white Range Rover. If you went to Cav at night, he'd be there, parked outside in his white Range Rover. If you were in the Gorgie Tollcross area, it was impossible not to have seen David Abua on your travels. If you were inside Cav, he'd be standing in the VIP booths in the R&B room, what seems like 6 nights a week, having a fantastic time. Long live Abua. We are all Abua.
Quite like David Abua then,
Just a bit. To be fair to him, I was reading, so he's like I said, he's an assistant manager now at Maroon United, and his name was actually in the running for the Hearts job when Stendhal was appointed, and that was no joke. It seems Abua's really highly regarded within the African coaching setup there. He's got a kind of head of academy role for all Ugandan youth football. He's got his UEFA Pro licence, I've seen. He just got in the last 6 months, well, not last 6 months, it would have been just before lockdown now. So good luck to him. There's obviously a big talk just now about the lack of black managers in British football. So I really hope with the personality and the experience of his that we get to see Abua back in Scottish football again. And hopefully for
Is this the whole point of us stepping up this podcast? David Abua's saying his CV. Give me a shout.
Listen, right, I might have had some time on my hands to do some research today. I'm just getting in really early for the next Hearts manager, Robbie Nielsen's replacement, David Abua, 150 to 1.
I seem to remember, I might be wrong here, Jarvis, and I don't want to take it from Abua too much, but did he not miss a penalty in his debut?
Abua?
Aye.
I only remember the good times, Sammy. No idea.
I'm sure he came on because everyone was going, he's a set piece expert and all that. I'm sure he missed a penalty in his debut against, I think it was in the cup or something, against Arlo or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I remember him anyway.
Thankfully, that's not in my memory bank. Only the good times. And R.I.P. Amy Winehouse. Speaking of footballers and nightclubs, Hammy, I believe you've got a story to share.
Aye. So I actually lived in Dundee for my sins for a couple of years. I was a student, so that just meant well, obviously he's not about my law, law and stuff. I've been quite a few nights at the local establishments. Now I've been Cav quite a bit as well when I came home at the weekend because uni didn't matter on the day. So we would always go to Cav on the night, and like you said, we would always see David Abua there. I was actually, I think it was the opening night of a new club in Dundee next door to Fat Sam's. It's called Liquid and Envy. Now this is a sister club of Cav actually. Opened up in Dundee. Liquid and Envy. I think it's there anymore, sadly. And was slightly inebriated. So I went to Liquid and Envy sister club, and it just opened up. We had I think we had some sort of weird pass thing because we were students. We got in. I was walking around still inebriated because I was a student as well. You had to drink quite heavily before you went to the clubs because we were all skint students. I was walking around, and right in the middle of the dance floor, I seen a big guy bouncing up and down right at the DJ booth. I think I know him, and we're going to remember this is in Dundee. And I sorted my vision out a little bit more, and all of a sudden, it's no face. Gary Kenneth was living his best life.
I mean, it was like a game show where you have to guess who the footballer was. She broke up there. Who was it? Sorry, we'll just keep going.
So I was walking around and looked on the dance floor. Is it one?
It was like the second you went to say the footballer's name, it broke up. We'll just keep rolling, Hammy. Rolling sound. Who was the footballer? Big reveal. It's like through the keyhole.
I'll start again.
No,
Start again. I can't
I've heard the story 6 times.
That's not even worth.
What?
It's not even...
The league's gone and that's it.
It's Gary Kenneth.
It was
Gary.
Well, any other nightclub stories?
I've got one, more about myself than any football player, but it was that whole period when we had Ian Cathro in charge, and everywhere I went uptown, people seemed to think I was Cathro. This rolled over. This was in my work as well. I don't,
Injured pals.
Big Jambo that sat next to me, constantly having a go at me for the results of the weekend. So I was more than glad when Ian went on his merry way.
For more than one reason, to be honest.
I was going to say, you're not the only one. Christ.
Simon, did we not see Lee Wallace outside Cav one night, and then like in the next again morning he was getting done for threatening people with a gun?
To be honest, loads of things happened outside Cav that I cannot speak about on this podcast.
Oh, same here. It was a different time. We were young men. Well, that's all we have time for tonight, folks. Thanks for stopping by, and many thanks to Simon, Hammy and Junior for your time today. If you would like to follow us on the social medias, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at hearts_podcast, and don't forget to spread the good word if you'd like to. If for some reason you'd like to send us an email, our email address is heartspodcast@gmail.com. And finally, a special thanks to Padman Scoop Productions for the massive amount of time he spent editing this show. So until next time, keep your ear to the ground, and we'll see you again soon.
Hearts.
Oh,
Hearts.
Ooh,
Hearts.
Ooh.